Why are you so bad at making horror games? Like, they're not even that scary, lol. Who the heck does this guy think he is? Like, I'm gonna spend countless hours of my life making a game just to prove some silly little argument. That would be absolutely insane. You know the sad part though? He's not wrong. My horror games absolutely suck. I made a horror game in Scratch one time and it was so bad that Scratch actually banned it. But today is a new day to prove myself, because I'm gonna be using a program called Tripo.Studio to help me on my journey to prove this man wrong. So if you don't know what Tripo.Studio is, it's basically a program where you use AI to generate entire 3D models. Like, just watch this, I'm gonna generate myself. Handsome fan who is 6'6". Oh wow. It can also do auto retopology, rigging, and much more. So let's just start making the game first. I'm gonna be making my horror game inside of Unity because Scratch has the IQ of my cat Krusivaya Krov when it comes to 3D. And I'm not gonna lie, Krusivaya Krov is kind of on the slow side, if you know what I mean. Horror game. So while Unity's loading, let's go ahead and make the 3D character. All right, so I'm here in Tripo and you can see here's a bunch of all the 3D models that I guess the community's made. We have this jack-o'-lantern. Yo, what the heck is this? A chicken, a wizard guy, and I'm gonna go to 3D model generate. And you can see that we have a couple of options. We have text to 3D, where you can describe a model you want to generate. Handsome fan who is 6'6". Or you could use image to 3D, where you upload your own image and Tripo automatically generates a 3D model from it. So I'm gonna use image to 3D. I already have an idea of what I want my character to look like. This guy. So now I'm gonna press generate and wait until Tripo generates my 3D model. Jeez, and it's already done. That took like 10 seconds. Can you believe that? I literally typed in a couple of words and now I have a complete 3D model. Tell me that isn't cool. But he's looking a little bland, so let's move on to the texture generation. Tripo can automatically generate textures for you. So I'm gonna press HD texture and let's press generate. Alright, and here goes the final 3D model that I'm gonna use for my game. Fully textured and fully modeled. And that's not even all. I can also do automatic retopology. If you don't know what retopology is, it's basically the process of reconstructing or optimizing the polygonal mesh of the 3D model, typically after it has been sculpted with a high level of detail. The goal is to create a cleaner, more efficient mesh that is better suited for tasks like... Alright, I'm not gonna lie, I totally used ChatGPT for this explanation, but it basically just optimizes the mesh. And boom. Look at this. It actually looks really nice with this style. We went down from almost 100,000 vertices to just 18,000. All right, now that our model is retopologized, I'm gonna show you about segmentation. You can see here, it's gonna automatically segment your model and make each part editable. So you can see that it segmented the head, the arms, every arm, so I could move those independently. That looks a little weird. All right, so now let's rig our character. So I'm gonna go to rigging and I'm gonna press auto rig. Alright, now I need to generate the rest of the items. So I need coins, I need ghosts, and I need my jump scare. I have this irrational fear of spiders for some strange reason. So naturally, I'm gonna make the jump scare a spider. So let's do text to 3D and let's say spooky horror game spider. Oh, okay, that's actually super creepy. Polycount auto HD texture and let's press generate. Alright, so it came up with this. I actually like this. This is kind of cool. It kind of looks like the creature from Alien. It looks like a brain. I'm gonna do it into segments and hopefully it should split each of the legs into different parts so I can move them around. Exactly what I needed. Now I'm going to start rigging the spider. So let's go to rigging and auto rig. Alright, and now the rigging is completely done. So you can see that Tripo automatically detected as an octopod. That's pretty cool. I didn't think it was gonna do that. So let me show the skeleton and you can see it actually rigged every single one of its legs. For the next model, I'm thinking of making a ghost that's just gonna chase you around the level that isn't a jump scare, but just the regular enemy. Alright, so it came up with this kind of ghost lady with a hole in her chest and like wispy hair, maybe like a ghost bride, I think. Whoa, that actually looks so sick. That looks amazing. And it has like the hair, the wispy spooky hair. Oh, this looks good. And I'm gonna rig it and segment it. Now I think I'm gonna retopologize it because look at the poly count on this, it's ridiculous. Now look how optimized the vertices are. Alright, so now that I have all of my models, it's time to put this into Unity and finally make the horror game. So in Unity, I made a terrain, which was going to be our level, and I needed some models to place around. So I went back into Tripo and I thought of a tombstone, because why not? A graveyard isn't a graveyard without tombstones. So here's the completed tombstone model. It actually looks really good. So I retopologized it, and now it's time to put it into Unity. Then, because I was thinking of the level as being a graveyard, I started duplicating the tombstones all over the place. I really didn't like the look of the graveyard just being tombstones, so I went back into Tripo and asked it to generate a spooky horror tree. I don't know why I called it spooky horror tree. It's literally a tree without leaves. Anyways, I put that into the graveyard and it actually looked really nice with the tombstones and everything. It actually makes the horror come out. So now that my level is done just placing this last tree, it's time to put the player inside of the game. Yeah, he looks very stiff, but don't worry, we're gonna add animations. It's all gonna come to life soon. So first order of business, animations. So here's the completed animations. I got walking, running, walking backwards, walking to the left, walking to the right, and jumping. Well, for some reason the jump animation was pretty buggy. Like you would jump and then you would go into a T-pose. And finally, I didn't want the default Unity look, how it just looks shiny. So I downloaded Unity's high definition render pipeline, which basically turns on ray tracing. I did have to fix some issues where some settings weren't assigned correctly, but in the end, it ended up looking like this. Now, this is the real 4K 60 FPS experience. Got the procedural clouds, the 4K shadows, it looks great. But this was a horror game and I wanted it to look horror-esque. So I changed some of the skylights, I turned the lights down so it would be my graveyard still. After a few minutes of tweaking, I got this brownish kind of horror. I kind of like this, but it's not the style I'm going for. And while I was doing that, I also painted on some grass to make it more realistic. And well, I'm not gonna lie, no self-glazing or anything, but this actually looks amazing. I'm proud of my work for once. Alright, I finally figured out how to turn down the directional light, so now it's actually nighttime. Well, kind of. I need to change the background. But enough worrying about that. I need to add in my enemies. So the first enemy that I have is my ghost bridesmaid. I dragged her in, added her materials and textures, spent way too long messing around with Unity's particle system for some reason. I don't know what I was trying to go for here, but it sucks. I also thought of an objective. So I figured that I was gonna put some heart collectibles around, and to complete the game you need to collect all of the hearts to finally get out of the level. So now with a little bit of work, the heart is now in the game and you should be able to collect it. For some reason when I dragged the ghosts in, I completely forgot to code them in. What they need to do is basically patrol around the level, and then when you get into their range, then they start chasing you. So now that the ghost was done, it has its movement and everything, I want to start working on the jump scare, which is gonna be my spider. So I'm thinking the spider will just patrol around the level, and then once it sees you, it'll chase you and then you'll get jumped. I used Tripo's auto rigging feature and I was surprised. I opened up the Tripo model in Blender and the rigging was actually really good. So I just exported it into Unity and I'm going to try making a little walk animation. So instead of individually animating every single leg, that would take forever, I'm going to try doing procedural animation for the first time. And once it's done, it'll actually look really good. This is what procedural generation looks like on a spider. So after a while with tinkering around with my spider leg settings, I ended up with this and I think it looks pretty spooky. I'm terrified to see this running around in a graveyard at night. I got stuck for a while because I was trying to get the spider to jump scare you when you started looking at it face on, but for some reason it just didn't work and the spiders started teleporting in random places. I spent such a long time figuring out why it wasn't working, and in the end I realized that I didn't even add a collider, so basically the spider couldn't detect that the player was right in front of it. So I added the collider and now it's time to code in the jump scare. I did some pretty simple animations with the legs of the spider, made the spider zoom in a little bit, and now the game is done. I'm not gonna put any gameplay of the game in this video though because I don't want to spoil it. So go ahead to my website if you want to download it and play it for yourself.